Hi, everybody. So first, Elon, good luck with tomorrow's launch at Boca Chica. Break a
Thanks.
leg.
We
Uh,
definitely we can't have too much luck in the rocket business, that's for sure.
that's incredible. So now that you've gotten to know the Twitter architecture kind of intimately
Oh man.
well over the past 6 months, what can you tell Tesla stakeholders about how an X.com or super app could be potentially accelerative to Tesla's business model?
uh, well, I don't know. I guess it could make it potentially make it easier to buy cars. Um, so, but we are straying somewhat off topic here because this is
Okay,
Tesla
all right.
School. But
Let's cut it. Let's
do I
cut it.
think there's some benefit? I think probably there's some benefit. Yeah,
Let's
sure.
let's I get it, Elon. So just as a follow-up on manufacturing, you're a student of history, and
Yes.
you'll know that back in 1913, Henry Ford introduced the moving assembly line in Highland Park, Michigan, and the price of a Model T, which had already, been undercutting cars around the time, fell another 70 or 80%, and hundreds of rival car companies went bust.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if history is repeating itself here, Elon, and that the recent pattern of cuts with you is way ahead of the cost curve compared to competition, or is this? It seems like it's a calculated strategy, not just in reaction to competition or changing supply demand in the market, but could we catalyze some Darwinian forces in the EV market?
Well, I mean, we're not trying to say take pricing actions in order to be deliberately undermine competitors or anything like that. We really don't think about competitors that much. We just look at, do people like our cars? How can we make the product better? Can they afford our cars? And the sort of the things like improving service and whatnot. But like I said, we do have this unique strategic advantage that we're making a car that if autonomy pans out, and we think it will, where that asset is actually will be worth a hell of a lot more in the future than it is now. So it is technically possible to sell it at zero profit, but still have the net present value of future cash flows associated with that asset be very significant.
Yeah. And service and charging and insurance and all of these other ongoing revenue streams that other companies don't have.
Yeah.
Certainly, we want all EVs to succeed too. We just want to say that we're not in like some malicious attack to try to just crush everybody.
Definitely not. We're like opening up superchargers. We've made our patents available for free. So it's like we're trying to be helpful here, So we're not out to just destroy competitors or anything like that. We're trying to help competitors, frankly, in any way that we can.
Thank you. Let's go to Dan Levi from Barclays.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. First question, you're ramping supply at Austin and Berlin, so wanted to understand just how critical it is to further increase volume at those plants just to get the vertical integration benefits in the face of the sort of market with some demand questions. And just broadly, should we historically you've been operating at the pace at which your supply allows you to produce as opposed to gauging to demand. Should we generally expect that you're going to continue to produce at your whatever the max capacity that you're allowed within your supply constraints, regardless of what the broader economic environment is, just to continue to get that volume out there?
That is, yes. I mean, there could be like obviously a macro shock that is so severe that people just stop buying cars for some reason. But in the absence of that, we will continue to grow output at a rapid clip.
Great, thank you. And then just on the margins associated with Austin and Berlin, you mentioned Austin and Berlin have a margin drag until you reach intended volumes. I don't know if you can disclose what those volumes are. And then maybe you could just remind us of what the margin profile of Austin and Berlin will look like versus Shanghai once you get the vertical integration benefits in place.
Well, probably one half. be quite as good as Shanghai. Shanghai is hard to, has a very efficient cost structures. Obviously our lowest cost structure in the world. But we do expect to be make significant improvements in Austin and Berlin, and continue to make improvements in Fremont as well. So,
we've increased. This is Roshan, by the way. We increased our localization efforts, so that will then drive down our days on hand requirements. We've made 10% quarter-over-quarter improvement in days on hand. So we'll continue that path as the localization improves.
Okay, thank you very much. And our final question comes from Philippe Houchois from Jefferies.
Yes, good evening. Thanks for taking the question. It's slightly longer term. I completely agree with your comments that we should look at Tesla in terms of auto market share, not EV market share. But I'm just wondering, as you build up the market share globally, is there a limit to the direct selling business model as you practice it? And should we think about going forward, you need to look into the agency or using importers to basically develop market share more smoothly, I guess, globally? And so, in other words, is there kind of a sell-by date for the direct business model as you practice it today?
It seems to be working well so far.
Because we hear different feedback from customers who miss the human interaction or unhappy with the service, and I'm just wondering if you're seeing some growth pains in there that would lead you to change. You're not seeing that.
Well, I mean, there are, since we're always going to have some growing pains where, at times, and it depends on which geography we're talking about, where sometimes service is behind sales, sometimes it's ahead of sales. This is, Tesla's growing, I believe, faster than any company in history that makes a large, complex manufactured object. So, these are, if you're trying to max, it's always difficult to match exponentials. But I think it is helpful to have the feedback loop with our service, because that means we feel the pain of service, and then we can adjust the design to make the car need less service. And I think that gives us the right incentive structure, because the best service is no service. The car doesn't break. And whereas if you have, say, a dealer network that is reliant upon service as a revenue, then you arguably have a misalignment of incentives, where they're making money on service, but actually we want to, the best thing for the consumer is the car doesn't need servicing. So.
Yeah. And on that front, if I can follow up, have you worked out, for many of your traditional competitors, a fair amount of profits for them comes from selling spare parts and servicing. And you don't have that in your profit structure. And have you worked out how much of a deficit you have compared to your peers?
Yeah, actually, this one's something I could wax on about for a while, because really people didn't understand that the best short-selling argument against Tesla for the longest time was the fact that Tesla does not have an existing fleet, and that the auto industry, the reason incumbents succeed and newcomers fail, the biggest reason is that the incumbents have a large fleet, and they're able to sell new cars at close to zero margin, and then sell spare parts at a very high margin, sort of, razors and blades type thing. And so the only way to actually succeed, for a newcomer to succeed, is to have a product that is so compelling that people are willing to pay a premium over the incumbent product. And in the absence of electrification and autonomy, I don't think a newcomer can succeed.